It is 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., sorry. I am going to call the Ordinance Committee meeting of Thursday, June 5th, 2025 to order. Clerk Everett, please call roll.
Councilperson Huckabee. Here. Councilperson Johnson.
Here.
President Jekyll.
Here. Item 3, public comment. The Ordinance Committee will receive public comments relating to matters on the agenda only. Speakers must be city residents, property owners, or business representatives within the city. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up in advance or state the following items for the record when called upon: name, address, and subject matter, and contact information. Starting out with those who have signed up, we will start with Riley Cunningham. Please come up to the podium and state your contact information, please.
I am Riley Cunningham. My contact information, my phone number is 920-817-1310. My email.
You don't, sorry, I should specify, just address is all you have to specify for.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Apologies. Address 1225 Commonwealth Drive, specifically apartment 11.
Thank you. Proceed. But
So I am here on the subject of the Pledge of Allegiance. I, as a high schooler, have just entered my first year of high school. As a freshman, I am about to complete my first year, a mere 14 years old, turning 15 this month. I know many of my classmates look up and look forward to the Pledge of Allegiance. They look forward to it as it's a sense of belonging. It's a sense that you're a part of something greater, the United States as a whole. That's what the pledge is all about. And getting rid of the Pledge of Allegiance before council meetings means that young people such as myself and my classmates will feel as disconnected because their own representatives aren't doing the Pledge of Allegiance. It's disconnecting them from that feeling of belonging, feeling of connection. We need that. There is an issue among mental health, especially among my age range. And I can confidently say 100% the Pledge of Allegiance helps combat that as they feel connected. They feel a sense of hope. They feel like their future matters because they're helping the people around them. If their representatives stop it, then why will the high schoolers continue? Why will they continue to feel that sense of belonging? I urge that the Pledge of Allegiance must continue, not just so the city council members feel connected to the states, but our future generations as well. I know many middle schoolers as well feel connected when doing the Pledge of Allegiance. It's a sense of belonging. It's not just some words that you say for less than a minute over and over for no reason. It's to make sure that you know you're American, to know you have people who believe in you, to know you have a system that supports you, supports your potential, allows you to be a better person, and overall just gives you opportunity. When your own representatives stop doing it, the future generations may forget all of those beautiful things that we should be grateful for. So the pledge, all in all, the Pledge of Allegiance isn't just some words that you say over and over again for no reason. It's for the people to feel a sense of connection, a sense of pride, a sense of dignity, a sense of community and hope for the future. That's all I have to say.
thank you. All right. Next, we have John Kellen.
My name is John Callan. I live at 522 Robert Street. If I understand correctly, the Pledge of Allegiance is not part of the city council meeting proceedings yet, is it?
Correct.
So you may want to correct that eloquent young man on that regard. But the amendment, in fact, proposes adding it. I assume. The amendment is not specified in the agenda, but I presume that's what it is. So the only real question about this then is, Why? I've heard this expressive and eloquent young man's reasons. My comments are that when this matter came up almost exactly 1 year ago, I suggested to each of the members of the council at the time this response. I've already, as a condition of my office, taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin. Listen to what I say and pay attention to what I do. These will show you my allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands. Isn't that enough? Another word for pledge is oath. Another word for allegiance is loyalty. Pledge of allegiance, in other words, is a loyalty oath. These have been deemed unconstitutional in violation of the First Amendment, at least when they are compulsory. Public school students are not required to recite the Pledge of Allegiance when it's run by them every morning. I did a lot of substitute teaching years ago. Believe me, many of them did not. And when I was a lad, I was a page in the Illinois House of Representatives, and I clearly remember the minutes of every meeting beginning with the words, "The House convened pursuant to adjournment." In other words, it was there to do the people's business and the state's business as quickly and efficiently as possible. How is adding the Pledge of Allegiance to a meeting that is pursuant to adjournment fulfilling that process? What is the relation between allegiance to the flag and doing the city's business that hasn't been clear since the council was created so many years ago? I've always understood that the purpose of creating a law, including an ordinance, is to rectify a shortcoming in existing law. What shortcoming? The Section 2-53 of the City of Fort Atkinson Code of General Ordinances relating to order of business for city council meeting, adding the Pledge of Allegiance fix. In other words, what is the problem to which adding the Pledge of Allegiance to council meetings is the solution?
Thank you. Next, Dave Friegel.
My name is Dave Friegel. I live at 409 Milo Street. And under new business, I see there's a item, organizational structure to include neighborhood and building services.
I think you have the wrong agenda. The Finance Committee met at 4 o'clock. So that's the Finance Committee agenda you have. The Ordinance Committee agendas are on the podium right now.
Well, my question was there going to be something in that neighborhood part that would include the use of sidewalks and,
That's not on this agenda. The public comment with the committees are to agenda items only, please. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
okay, sorry.
Next we have Ron Martin signed up.
Hello, Ron Martin. I live at 409 Natick Drive here in Fort. Before the spring election this year, I heard that it would cost time and money to change this ordinance, which really didn't make much sense to me and to a number of other people that I talked with. It seems like the time is right to do this. I'm not sure why it was taken away from the beginning of the city council meetings. But we just celebrated Memorial Day, and the 4th of July is coming up in about a month. And so I can think of no better time to change this ordinance to reinstate the Pledge of Allegiance to the beginning of council meetings and to correct this injustice and restore justice and liberty for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Elliot Larson.
Elliot Larson, 415 McMillan Street. I just like to compliment on the people before me that were talking about the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, I think we need to, the whole United States needs to be together. And the way that, one of the ways to show that is the people here sitting down and the community must have the confidence. And I think one of the ways to have that confidence in you guys is to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't see why not. And this young man over here that came up here, I know if I would have been whatever age he is, I wouldn't have been able to do this. And I commend him. And I hope that you guys understand the importance of what that means. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else in the audience, you can have your 3 minutes if you're a city resident.
I did not prepare a speech. My name is Lori Walgamuth. My address is 306 East Milwaukee Avenue. I guess what I'm, obviously, I don't know the ones that don't vote for this, maybe never had anyone in the Army, or, you know, you should really be thankful for what we have. We're actually able to stand here right now and speak because of that. And it is, the last president that we had mentioned that it was someone that we could not be saying someone's favorite passage just because they wanted it said at whatever time. I think that is utterly disgusting and should not even, I don't know who would ever even think of anything like that. We need the pledge. It's the United States of America, for crying out loud. And we're losing it. We need to stand up. Thank you.
Thank you. One more call for anyone, either in person or on Zoom. Last call. Okay, thank you for everyone's comments. We will move on to new business. Item 4A, review and possible action recommendation to the city council relating to a proposed amendment to section 2-53 of the City of Fort Atkinson General Code of Ordinances relating to order of business for city council meetings. Manager Hausman.
Thank you. So the ordinance amendment before the ordinance committee tonight makes two changes to the order of business at council meetings. It adds the Pledge of Allegiance and adds the consent agenda, including approval of the minutes of previous council meetings. As several, well, at least one person here was here in 2021, the council did approve of that use of the consent agenda with the process and rules set forth in the memo that is attached that was presented to the council at the time. So the council did approve that consent agenda in 2021. Adding the pledge was requested by city council members. So those two items are together in this ordinance amendment, but any committee member may make a motion to separate those items if they choose to. The ordinance is not expected to impact the city financially, and staff does recommend that the ordinance committee recommend the council approve the amendment to section 2.53 of the City of Fort Atkinson General Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. This time I'll open up for any discussion.
Well, I move that we approve the amendments to section 2-53 for consideration of the city council.
I have comments, but I will second what she says.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion and comments are welcome now.
Yes, I guess I'd want to point out why I had an opportunity to bring this forward a couple of years ago when I was council president. I chose not to for reasons of not putting people in positions to say yes or no to this. But since then, I have revamped my thought process, and I think it's against what I was doing to not give everybody on council the opportunity to speak their piece and see what they think. One of the greatest things about being an American is your ability to disagree with another American and not be abused for it. I think that there are not one question, but two. One question would be why? More importantly, why not? It's not that long. It doesn't tie up a whole night. And it's something most of us has done since we were children. I agree with our young man who started us out. If it gives that feeling of comfort, it becomes a quality thought, and I will second the idea of moving this forward to council.
And during my campaign for city council, it was brought up to me quite a bit. It was also a big part of our candidate forum. And I'm proud to bring it forward. And as far as it impacting a meeting, it's 20 seconds. We timed it. And I don't think it's going to make any of us lose any sleep. So I'm glad that it's here on the table today. And I do appreciate all the varied comments and the people that are here today. Thank you.
All right. There's nothing else. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of carrying this on to the city council, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4B is review and discussion and possible recommendation to the city council relating to the creation of section 1-16, establishment of reinspection fees, the amendment of section 18-82 requiring the certificate of occupancy for a change in use, and a recommendation to, and an amendment to section 34-2 record keeping and reporting of fire inspections. Building inspector, zoning administrator Drager, and fire chief Peterson.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll start off with the re-inspection fees, as it's first on the list there. I want to start with some little background on why this is brought for you. Over the course of the several years I've been here, code enforcement is a major time-consuming effort for the city. And it's not just code enforcement, it's the police department, fire department, municipal staff, court clerk, financial department. Many hours go into enforcing what we see as manageable issues. One of the other problems with that is the first action that we have is a 30-day letter, gives people notice that there's an issue and they should contact the city department that is closely related to that. The other problem with that is the next action there is immediately a citation. And citations are expensive, and they're also ineffective, as most of the time they do not get paid and nothing happens. And all that ends up doing is increasing time, effort from staff, which takes away from our ability to help in other areas of the city where there is more need. We respond to these acts or these situations with complaints. So there's always a complaint that comes forward that brings us to the forefront and why we're addressing that. Mostly the police department's time, their effort at this time is being spent on that. And then it goes through my office, then it goes through the court system, and they get left unpaid with little to no result. I can give you an example right now. We have a couple properties. The Jordan Street Apartments would be a prime example of how long it takes to get some kind of response out of a building owner for lack of attention to their property in a nice way of saying it. Citations are ineffective. They either don't pay it. If they do, maybe they have enough money just to pay it. But most of the time it's just left unpaid and a continued effort from the city to get zero action. Another one we have on Nelson Street where it went all the way to remediation of the property with citations that are still left unpaid. And given the way the law is, that homeowner was able to go back and just get their items and put them right back on the front lawn, to the dissatisfaction of the neighborhood around them. The reinspection fees, the idea behind here is that it's a forefront and a communication way to explain to the property owner that there is an issue. It's not a citation, so it's not as aggressive. In our opinion, it would not be as aggressive. It would still have the citation option there for due process if that got to that point. But the reinspection fees would help offset the amount of time and effort that a handful of individuals in the city are taking from municipal staff, and more importantly, the citizens who are not getting the efforts from the municipal staff because of that time. They would be paying their share of it in a way that is less expensive to start, and then only citations would come into play when necessary, as I feel that's an aggressive and really takes people off balance when they receive a citation for something along those lines. There's a variety of chapters that would be in, mostly because code enforcement covers most of the city ordinances. And then I just give you a little perspective on when I say citations not being collected. I've got a spreadsheet here of different citations that are at the state right now for collection that'll likely stay there. And that total is from 2018, and that's over $13,000 for citations. And those are just the ones that are sitting on, or that are already at the state, and that's not the ones that are already in the works. So this is a very big effort from municipal staff to try and get some kind of response from property owners. Whereas a fee is addressed straight to the property owner, but it doesn't bog down courts. It doesn't bog down the police department with lots of paperwork, which the citation is, municipal court, the court clerk. This would go directly to them as a bill. And hopefully that would open them up to seeing that this is something that they need to address, and hopefully get some more traction with those efforts.
Would this also alter it to a level where, I know there's certain things, if you're got a bill that's due with the city and it's unpaid, it gets added to your tax roll. So it's getting paid whether you like it or not.
This would be to that.
This
effect,
would
yeah.
facilitate that going that route, correct?
Yep. Yes, that is kind of the idea behind it, is that a lot of those expenses for city municipal staff, is that cost is being borne by the bulk of the city who are not causing the issues, and it's being left unpaid. And the idea behind here is that the offender can actually pay that portion of the time and effort being done.
I think that's a good move to put it into that position.
Thank you.
At the moment too, my understanding has been that we hired a ordinance officer for the police department. Is that who you would call to make a complaint?
Currently, we do not have a code enforcement officer. That position has been very hard to fill, but in the future, yes, that would either be that code enforcement officer or another designated person, yes. That would take a look at these, and the way this is designed is that you still get that notice letter, and then you get a reinspection fee. But if you get a notice letter and somebody comes by to reinspect to see if that violation is still there and it is fixed, there is no reinspection fee then. This is only if you're coming back repeatedly and having to take those resources from the city and constantly have to have somebody come by and look.
And again, the future maybe holds an individual to take your complaint to. I'd hate to see it where the answer was, I'm going to call every day, 3 times a day till I,
Well, it could be, yeah. Some people are calling that often, yeah. Currently, they're calling the police department or my office for most of the complaints. So police department handles those as well through dispatch, which is not where it needs to be. And it's a large effort.
Thank you for the info.
You're welcome.
When you say reinspection fees, what are we, I didn't know if I missed it, or do we
There-
kind of have an outline of what we're thinking for?
I could give you an idea of what other municipalities are setting that fee, but as it's structured here is it would be determined through the fee schedule.
Okay.
So that could change and it would be set by city council.
Would it kind of be in, along with depending on what area the code is
Uh,
being enforced with?
Generally, it's structured for just a fee for the whole thing, for any reinspection fee.
Okay,
I would propose it to be a lower amount, because it could be daily if you want to, but we don't have time for that. I would see this as being a weekly charge if it gets to that point.
okay,
With an inspection each time. And
With an inspection
if
each
the
time.
inspection is failed, then that would have the charge. If they pass the inspection at any given time, that fee would not be charged.
okay,
And please keep in mind, this was followed by a 30-day notice letter saying, hey, please contact me so we can talk about what the problem is. That's been the practice for a long time and would continue with this process. This is more for later down the road with non-compliance.
okay.
Any more questions on that one?
So are you expecting this to be easier to track versus, or,
Yeah.
the administration of reinspection fees?
I don't think it would change the workload initially.
Mhm.
I think that will remain. But I think it would, in the long term, make things easier, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just a big drive meant to help make your enforcement practices actually come to fruition.
Yes, yep. But leaving that citation portion in there for them to talk to more than just the code enforcement officer or myself. And then it would, if it got into that point, they could still have their due process and still be able to go that route.
And be able
plead
to
their case.
appeal.
Yep.
Okay. Because I am aware of a situation where the violations is being used kind of as harassment in a neighborhood situation.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure that residents have a way to remediate
Yes.
that sort of thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd gotten feedback on that prior to coming here and we
Okay.
staff looked at some changes to that to make sure, and that was a good point.
Good.
So we had no intent to remove that process, just trying to make things a little bit easier as well as a little more forceful. Any more questions on that one, or I'll move on?
We're good?
Okay. Certificate of occupancy would be the next one on the list, I believe. That one, that stems from this is more of an effort to catch situations prior to them happening. This is meant and intended, and I believe it's worded in this ordinance to facilitate new owners or new property leases of businesses to have a point of contact with the city, which would be the building department, to introduce themselves, introduce the city, and on that form that is available would have contact information for emergency services, key holders, and then it has general questions with last fire inspection and things of those nature. Now, keep in mind, this is only for a change of use. So if you have an office and somebody else is moving in and continue it as an office, that's not part of this. This is for a situation where you have an office and a restaurant wants to move in there, or you have a retail space and a large assembly wants to move in there where you have significantly more people coming in and out of that building. And it's just not set up for safety. There's a situation where there could be a fire and you have, instead of what the building is designed for 10 to 15 people, you have 50 people in there and they can't get out, not in a timely manner. That's the purpose of this, is to catch those situations ahead of time so that my department can direct them to the right department in the city to make sure that they're doing what is necessary to make it safe and to get out ahead of possible delays that they could have, because most of the time in these situations, I'm finding out about it after the fact. And then I have to say, whoa, there's a couple things you guys missed. And we'd really like to help you through that, but now it's likely after they have already planned or about to open or some situation like that. So this is intended to help a new business get things organized prior to trying to open. And then along with that, it comes with the fire safety situation where we have one case now where we have a new business in town on Main Street. They are already open and they didn't realize they had to have fire extinguishers or any safety items. So now it's after the fact and now, now we have a safety issue with customers coming into the building. They are unaware that they need it, so they wouldn't have any way to react to a fire. So those are safety issues that we're really trying to stay ahead of. Yeah, I guess, I mean, if you have anything to add to that, to that.
Yeah, he hit most of my talking points. I think the one thing we would add is we're certainly pro-business and want to make it as easy as possible for the businesses to change occupancies and move into the city. And this gives them one point of contact. So rather than wondering what departments to call, calling us and water and fire department, he can call one department and then from there it will be distributed to everybody, which will make the process for the business owners a lot easier.
Any questions with them? Apologize, my throat is dry. It's talking a lot.
The exception for minor changes, is that going to be more spelled out just so it's not subjective?
Yeah, I think that what that's referring to, a minor change, yeah, I mean, it could be. And then,
Okay.
and as you'll see, or as you see on the agenda, this is open for recommendations.
Yep.
And feedback
And
and
feedback, sorry,
direction,
yeah.
right? So
Okay.
we could certainly look at when we draft the actual ordinance, we could look at making that more objective. Which part was that?
I would,
so I'm-
these are from my notes, but I'll get it.
Oh, okay.
I'll get it for you.
Thanks.
I think I
Um,
know what portion you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank
Um,
you for that feedback. Yeah, this is the draft and there's always changes that can be made to it, but
Okay.
just, we're trying to show you the intent of these, and addressing an issue that
Yeah.
we're trying to find a solution to.
Well, and you're expecting that this is going to create less delays and less cost going on for businesses?
For business, yeah.
Okay,
I would
so-
anticipate that as a very true statement. Right now, if they don't contact a city department to kind of get that ball rolling,
Mhm.
then we're playing catch up. And then hey, you haven't done this, or you haven't done this, and there may not be anything they need to do.
Yeah.
That's entirely possible too. But it's those situations where there's several things to do and they didn't know about it. And now we're saying, you can't let people in here because this is not a good situation.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to avoid with this. And on top of that, the PD and fire department in most of these cases don't have a contact
Mhm.
for these new business owners. And they only get it after maybe an incident happens, or they're on the list for the yearly inspection, and that's when it comes around, and that's when maybe they can collect it.
Okay.
But this is a point of contact in emergency services as well.
I think that's a great change. Anything that we can do to build our reputation as an easy city to work with is going
Yeah,
to be very,
that's-
very good.
And that's the idea with that one point of contact is
Yep.
that, hey, thank you for contacting me. Here's this form. I will help you build, and then we can distribute it out to the emergency services departments and make sure that they are aware of those, and they don't have to bother calling them and making contact with them. And then hopefully, I can direct them on what they may or may not need to do in the first place.
Your office is the correct place to come seek this occupancy.
Yeah, I would say so, yes. The commercial building code is managed by my department. And then I feel my department is a central area that's connected very well with all the other departments in one way, shape, or form.
I think the certificate of occupancy is a very wise thing, like you said. I've seen or heard of way too many instances where fire department gets called to a scene and the property owner is out of state property. So now they're playing phone tag to try and get in touch with whoever.
Yeah.
The property owner may not actually be the one that manages the property. So
Exactly.
you're playing, telephone basically.
Right.
So
Again,
this is definitely a wise thing to have for, like you said, emergency and just making sure we're keeping residents safe coming into these businesses.
yeah, same thing with the police department. If they see a cracked window or a door open or something, rather than just having to come in there unannounced, they can have a phone call they can make and let them know that they want to check it out, or may I check it out? you know, that relieves a lot of potentially dangerous situations there too. And once again, this is only for a change of use. This isn't for every single business in the city. This is only in those circumstances where it's a completely different use of the structure. And then any of those ones that are not a change of use, you know, the point of that being is they shouldn't have to pay a fee to have somebody come in and inspect something that doesn't need an inspection. And then they'll get their annual fire inspection at some point. Yeah, the thought is there that since they're not changing use, they're not changing the layout, they're not changing the fire protection in there, and it should be adequate until their yearly inspection.
Mhm.
Okay, and I think you're more on the.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third part of this is amending the fire prevention code, specifically 34.2, which gives the fire chief the discretion to advise how fire inspection reports should be remitted back to the fire department. So some background, when a business has a fire protection system, such as a fire alarm, sprinkler system, fire extinguishers, a private fire pump, they're required by code and then required to be certified annually by a licensed inspector. Presently, when they do that, they'll hang the ticket in the dirty room down there next to the fire pump and for us to try to find when we're doing our inspections. So this code requires that those reports are sent back electronically to our department, and so we could track compliance with that. As you can imagine, there's over 650 businesses in town for our department to inspect without a full-time fire prevention bureau. So way we'll accomplish this is through a third-party software company that will actually manage this for us. The businesses that are inspected will remit it back to this company. They will track it, send letters to the businesses advising them when their systems are due, and if they fail to have it inspected within the year timeframe, and send them some reminder notes. Also, if there's an inspection and issues are found, they'll remind them to have those things fixed until there's some compliance on that. Okay. This is a system that's being used in Illinois and throughout most of Wisconsin now, at least the southern part, to kind of use a force multiplier for our department. So as you can imagine, 650 buildings, and each building might have 2, 3, or 4 systems to inspect. It is overwhelming, the amount of paperwork it would take a fire prevention bureau to keep track of that. The good news is it is free to the business owners, at least indirectly. It's paid for by the contractors that are doing it, and they're used to doing this system now in many of the other larger areas where they do inspections. They're used to reporting back to these companies to track that system. So it's no direct cost to the business owners. It helps us be sensitive to the business owners' needs, to remind them when things are due and remind them when they're not in compliance. So we're pleased we're able to move forward with this and kind of bring some technology to help us manage our requirements. So that's the first part of that. If there's any questions on that.
I would assume you know the answer to this, and I believe I already know the answer, but I want to be sure anybody who pays attention to this meeting gets an answer. H&H Fire is still in business, aren't they? Or did they leave us?
I believe so, yes.
They left us.
No, they're here.
They're still in
I
business.
believe so, yeah.
As far as they could make compliance for a lot of things with fire extinguishers and charging.
In fact, most companies, in fact, almost all companies that are certified are members of the system and know how to electronically post their inspection results.
Are there other companies local available?
Well, this isn't one particular company. So the company we would use is called Bryce, and they're a nationwide company. So when Bob's fire inspection company goes into Patty Shack to do their inspection, when they're done, they'll upload their inspection report to the system. So any fire alarm, fire inspection company is able to use this system. So it changes it from a paper system hanging on the wall to an electronic system to a third party, if that's a better way to explain it.
And I think my question was meant in a slightly different format.
Okay.
I'm saying to bring myself up to code, I could call H&H Fire up, come out, charge up all my fire extinguishers and probably succeed in making your code.
Correct. Well, you have to do that regardless, and the extinguishers have to be checked annually. So when H&H comes out, they'll upload to the system that they've checked your extinguishers, and then we can check you off our list of being in compliance.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to follow that.
So basically, the city isn't doing the inspections.
Well, we still do inspections. So our staff will still do fire inspections and company inspections. But as part of that company inspection, we look at all their fire protection systems. So the hood and duct, the extinguishers, the sprinkler system, the fire alarm system, to make sure those were inspected within a year.
Okay.
So it takes that burden off of us to make sure that they were inspected.
Now you no longer have to go to the business necessarily to do the inspection.
We'll always go to the business regardless, but it takes that part of checking the businesses away from our staff to have to check.
Okay.
I'm still confused. Sorry. So you're going to physically go do the fire inspections, but it's the reporting and tracking?
Yeah.
that You won't.
Let me
have to
explain it a
do?
different way.
Okay, sorry.
So by code, our department has to inspect businesses, and there's over 650 in our jurisdiction, and we do that.
Yeah.
So we do that annually. And so either I'll do it or our staff will do it. They'll pull up the walkthrough Caddyshack, find an extinguisher that's out of date and an exit light that's not working and a improper extension cord that's being used. So we'll put that out in our form. The rest of their systems, they have a sprinkler system and they have a fire alarm system, have to be inspected annually. That's part of their code. So rather than our staff having to check that part of the inspection, the people that certified that will let us know ahead of time. And if they didn't have that inspected, this company will help track that and remind them that that has to be done.
And that's already still that's always been on the business
That's
owner.
always been on the code. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So that's the first part of that. The second part of that is being sensitive to the business owners is after they have a fire inspection, a lot of them pass because we've been doing it forever and they know the rules. But there's a lot of them that have some violations. We always get the first inspection done, and the Wisconsin code calls for one inspection. Where the hole is the reinspection and ensuring compliance, that the exit lights fix, that the fire extinguisher was charged, that the extension cord was removed. Our next system is to allow those businesses to electronically tell us that they have self-reported and complied with those violations. And they do it through a system where they can note it on the form and take a picture of it, and it ensures compliance for the violations. And it also takes a burden away from our department to have and not only inspect 650 businesses, but go back out and check 300 more for their violations that have been corrected. So that is very business friendly. It allows them to do it. We give them 30 days. If they fail to do it or fail to let us know it's in process, we'll go out and visit them and give them another 30-day grace period. After that, much like Jed, that we'll start charging a reinspection fee until we get compliance. Our goal is to charge 0 reinspection fees for the year and ensuring that we had good compliance with everybody and they were working to fix all their violations. So we have, this ordinance is meant to adopt both of those abilities for the department to kind of complete our requirements to make sure fire inspections are done and completed.
I think everything you guys have brought up, I think sounds like a great idea to revisit and bring up more in the future here. So.
Good.
So just a question for this committee. When we do draft these ordinances in more of the ordinance style that you saw with the other ordinance on the agenda, can we bring it to council for review, or do you want it to come back to this committee before going to city council?
I'm comfortable with whatever Mr. Jekyll would like to see.
I sure put all the pressure on me.
Yeah.
I would assume a lot of it you do have drafted up here. I think I'd be comfortable being how all three of us are on the regular council. And it will have to go through the 3 readings that we can bring it up there. And if we see problems, we can make amendments on the first meeting.
And that would apply just to this one, correct? We might need a different, when we're looking at a different ordinance that might be a little more complex, that might need some.
Yeah, this is
isn't
just
a one and
in
done.
regards to this
This is just.
agenda item.
We're just asking for feedback from this and thank you for that because that makes it a little bit more efficient. We
Yes.
can get all of our ducks in a row, get everything drafted, and we'll bring them when they are drafted to the full city council.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Warren?
One more.
Yeah.
The subscription for the software is, so are the businesses like users of that software?
No, it's actually the companies that do the inspections are the actual users of that software.
Okay, because there was a portion in there that was self-reporting for the businesses.
Right. They'll do that directly to our fire station through email.
Got it. Okay,
So if we said you have an improper extension cord, we give them 30 days, they fix it, they take a picture of it, it's gone underneath the secretary's desk, and then we consider that in compliance, and then that's the end of the issue with it.
perfect. Thank you.
Anything else then? If not, I will move on to agenda number 5. Adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.